As soon as they get it on YouTube, Carla, that's what she
Okay.
said, I think.
Sounds good. Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to today's Livermore-Amador Valley Transit Authority meeting. And we are here on the March 7th at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. If you wish to speak on any agenda items, there are some processes to do so. They're on the city's website. But to comment by video, click the raise your hand function when your item is up. If you are calling in by phone, you can do *9 on your dial pad. And then if you want to submit written comments, we are absolutely interested in written comments, and they are sent to frontdesk@lavta.org. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Could we have a roll call of our members, please?
Yes. Director Solano.
Here.
Vice Chair Habert.
Here?
Director Hernandez. I think, let's see, she's as an attendee, but let me allow her to become a panelist. One moment.
I'm here.
Thank you. Director Josie.
I'm here.
Director Kick.
Here.
Director Naram.
Here.
Chair Brown.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Oh, terrific. All right. Thank you. And thank you everyone for attending our meeting today. Our next agenda item is meeting open to the public. You have up to 3 minutes to speak to items of interest to you that are within the responsibility of this governing board. Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak today?
So I see one attendee. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. They're not raising their hand. Actually, they are raising their hand. Hold on one moment.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
You have-
Herb.
You have 3 minutes to speak for public comment. You can start now.
Okay, Jennifer, thank you. No, I noticed the agenda item, one that everyone kind of knows who I'm talking about, especially Carla. Yeah, I'd be very fortunate and very helpful if we have the service attendant for this year's fair. And it would be very helpful to have everybody accessible to that. And then I was also gonna think of having staff possibly attempt to get a hold of Bart to put some kind of signage inside the station or outside for directing towards the stop over there on the Pundit side, as normal as we usually used to have it. And that was it.
All right, thank you, Herb. So I guess that means you will not be speaking on agenda item 5. You're speaking now under just general, open to the public. So terrific. All right, well, thank you for weighing in. Your opinion is highly valued. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go
Carla,
ahead. Yes.
I just wanted to state on the record, we also didn't receive public comments via email today.
Oh, that's helpful. All right, so nothing, since sounds like we just had one person in the, as an attendee and that person has spoke, I guess we're good. So with no written comment, I will close the public hearing. We're on to consent agenda. These are items normally considered routine in nature and approved by a single vote. Does anybody have any agenda modifications, questions, or a motion? Yes.
I do have a quick question. If I might, on the, I believe it's item 4D. It's just a question regarding the non-revenue vehicles, something that was in the report. Is this the appropriate time for me to just ask a question about that?
Please.
Yeah, my question is, do we have a zero emission a zero emission transition plan for our vehicles that are non-revenue, that are just used by the LAVTA staff?
No. First, let me just share that most are used actually by our contractor for shift changes and the road supervisors. The vehicles we most recently purchased, the cars, not the vans, were hybrids. Part of the problem we have at LAFTA is we cannot put in charging stations because we are out of electricity in this building. I don't know how that works, not an electrician, but we've been told that we tried putting in charging stations probably pre-COVID, so a couple of years ago. And the electricians who came out said that we could not draw any more power. So that may change as we make improvements and adjustments to save electricity. It may free some up. So I'm not aware of a large market for hydrogen cars and vans. So not that we couldn't put a plan into place, but we do not at this time.
What would we would plan to have those that charging infrastructure at Atlantis when we?
The electrical, Tone, can you answer that?
Yes, that's correct. It will be at Atlantis. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah. So I guess my point is just that we should, I think, be doing what we did with our fleet, which is be having a plan for transition to zero emission. It may not be possible where we are now with respect to not enough electrical power capability, but it would be nice to see that we're transitioning in that direct, we're phasing that in over the appropriate time with the appropriate infrastructure. So I guess that's just a comment, and
we can do that.
Yeah, and I don't know what the timeline is for replacing all those vehicles. I think there was a column in the table in the package, but it would be nice to sort of target certain vehicles for replacement with zero emission when that makes sense.
So the majority of them are a ways out. So by then we will probably have something in place.
Great.
Bring it back to the board for discussion and approval. And of course, budgetary considerations as well. All and above. All right, thank you. Board member Josie.
Thank you, and I'm sorry if this is slightly off topic, but in our Atlantis planning, are we planning for charging stations for employees' vehicles as well as our own fleet vehicles to ensure that employees who are transitioning to zero emissions can also charge at work?
Tone?
Yes, sorry, trying to find the unmute button. So I think Michael is going to go into it during his ED update, but we'll have Kimberly Horn at the meeting later today to go into more details. But part of the design does include charging infrastructure in the employee parking lot, because it's part of the new code requirement to have certain number of chargers based on the footage of the facility.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for your answer. Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, I am looking for a motion.
I would move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, it looks like we had a motion by Bonanno, seconded by Narum. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Director Bonanno,
Aye.
Vice Chair Hubbard,
Aye.
Director Hernandez,
Aye.
Director Josie,
Aye.
Director Kick,
Aye.
Director Narum,
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Yes, aye.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Okay, good questions. Our agenda item 5 is wheels services to the Alameda County Fair this summer. Looking forward to that. So how about a fair that's actually in the summer instead of the fall? That would be fun too.
That would be more normal.
It would be more normal. So could we have a staff report, please?
Yes. So we were contacted recently by the Alameda County Fair staff, and they indicated that they were going to be returning to a summertime fair starting June 17th through July 10th, running Wednesdays through Sundays, plus July 4th, which is a Monday this year. And they had requested that we once again run our Route 52 fair shuttle to the fair on the days that it's open. And they've been, we operated this service in 2017, 18, and 19. And it's been a really good partnership. They help us out quite a bit. They do some marketing for us. They put promotion on the big sign there at Bernal and Valley. They also print the printed timetables at their expense, so that doesn't cost us anything. They provide, or have provided in the past, 2-for-1 coupons that we put on our bus so all of our riders can get in 2-for-1. And they've just been really, really good to work with. So they've asked that we run the service again this year. Staff's recommending that. In the past, we've carried about 3,000 riders per year, running about 230 hours of service. And so productivity wise, that's really good for our services. That is on a passengers per hour basis, right up there with like the Route 10 and the Route 30 as far as utilization. So that makes it kind of worthwhile. So that's the report. The recommendation is to run the service.
And the hopes and our fingers crossed that we can get those numbers again that we've had in the past. And I'm sure the fair too is looking forward to some increased attendance.
Yes.
Than their partial years have been in the past. Okay, any questions of staff? Seeing none, do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak other than other than Herb, who spoke earlier today?
I don't see any other attendees in the public. And again, we didn't receive anything via email from the public.
Okay, all right, I'll bring it back to the board and see what you'd like to do. Any comments or thoughts? Yes, Trustee Josie.
Thank you. This seems like a great way to not only support the fair and also get some advertising, but get people in the Tri-Valley more comfortable being on public transit again. So I am 100% in favor.
All right, go to trustee. Sorry, you're a board member, so thank you. All right, you know, it has worked out really well in the past as well. Any other comments? Okay, well, hopefully some of us will take the bus to the fair and get one of those 2-for-1 coupons. All right, I'm looking for a motion then.
So moved.
Thank you.
Halbert, second.
Okay, thank you. Yes, let's get them over there to your fairgrounds there, Alameda County Fair. All right, we have a motion made by Josie, seconded by Halbert. Could we take a roll call vote, please?
Director Bonanno.
Aye.
Vice Chair Halbert.
Aye.
Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Josie.
Aye.
Director Kick.
Aye.
Director Narum.
Aye.
Chair Brown.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Terrific. Okay, one of my favorite parts, Executive Director report. Mr. Tree, do you have anything to share with us today?
You know, I do. Things are going well. Hoping everyone had a great weekend and is having a great day. I do have an executive director's report that I put together. It really features some good news. Your Omicron variant obviously is starting to go away as far as impact wise. We don't currently have anyone at LAVTA, even with our contractors, who is out right now with COVID related leave. And with that said, ridership is starting to come back. So you have some ridership numbers in the staff report. They're up higher than they have been during this Omicron variant impact. And we're about halfway to getting our pre-COVID ridership back. So great news. We're working really hard behind the scenes to hire operators. You'll certainly see in your next agenda in April a game plan that staff will bring to you in regard to operators and hiring them and retaining them. I did want to also note the Madden Cruiser, great picture in the executive director's report. That certainly has been a fantastic project that Tony has put together with the marketing team. And as you're well aware, it was featured at One More Night one more Monday night in Oakland, which was the celebration for John Madden. And it has been featured in various media coverages, and we're circulating that bus now on various bus routes throughout the system, and it's been really well received. It's just a great community project, I think, to bind us close to the community. In regard to Atlantis, we had hoped to have a report today for you. We're going to bring that to the PNS in March and then to the board in April. But that project's getting closer to 60% design, which is where we need it to be able to do a design bid project. And as you'll recall, that project, the maintenance facility and the hydrogen fueling station were the main components of a TIRSIP grant, which we recently submitted to CalSTA. And so that's a grant for approximately $30 million for those two that was kind of tied into a multi-agency ask. Really the focus there was the 680 and express bus, and the state would like to run hydrogen over the road coaches on that express bus service. And so they, being a project partner, the maintenance facility and the hydrogen fueling station became a key component for that project. So just to follow up, the vision with the staff cars and trucks and vans was really to take advantage of the hydrogen technology. So to begin a conversion with those as soon as we were into Atlantis and had a hydrogen fueling station. So this was really good discussion that was brought up earlier in the meeting, and staff will certainly come back with a game plan on that technology, that zero emission technology for staff vehicles. And then we'll also prep Kimley Horn when they come to PNS in March, and then to the board in April to talk about the electrical charging stations for employees and for visitors in the parking lot. Just a couple of quick updates. Key to our budget that we're putting together, which the Finance Committee will see for the first time in April, will be your April 6th proposals that we received for the paratransit work. We're anxious to get those proposals in so that we can see how that will affect the budget. A couple of other items. The zero emission bus rollout plan will be in front of the Projects and Services Committee in March. So that's a continuation of the master plan, which the board approved. And then we continue to work on the shared autonomous vehicle project. Not much to share here other than phase 2 is coming together nicely as far as funding from regional sources for the vehicles and for the mobility hubs and so on. And we're trying to find an interim game plan so that that project isn't without operations until phase 2, which is about 18 months out. And then finally, the Dublin parking garage, I put in the report that that's due to go to the County Board of Supervisors, the design build contract for that facility on March 15th. I think that slipped to March 22nd. But staff has been communicating frequently with the county in regard to how that's going. And that project is still within budget, and was really just some administrative loopholes to jump through before they felt it was ready for the Board of Supervisors. Some county council asks, if you will, at the kind of the last minute, which delayed that from the 15th to the 22nd. I think there's a couple of other quick items. We've got a website revamp. Tony's and the marketing team have been working on a new look for the LAVTA website, for the Wheels website. That'll be out by June. And so we're hopeful to give the board a sneak peek of that. And in addition, the board's working literally kind of around the clock on a couple of big federal grant opportunities. We've got the Low-No program, which is kind of your key program for acquiring zero emission buses. We've got a grant application due in May that we're working on, and that will provide the gap funding that we have to procure your first 12 hydrogen buses in your next bus procurement, which is scheduled for 2023 with a delivery of 2025. So we'll do well with that grant because we have the lion's share of the money assembled already. And then the other big grant we're working on is the FTA's bus and bus facility grant. We have submitted previously under that grant program the funding for your operations building at Atlantis. And so we're resubmitting, if you will, an application and hopeful that we've moved up in priority at the FTA for funding. And with that said, if the TRSA grant at the state level provides for the maintenance facility and the hydrogen fueling station, this will be the last component for your Atlantis campus, that operating and admin facility. So it's a $20 million ask, but we have been reserving funds. We have committed reserves for all of our capital projects, but certainly for this one as well. So we should bode well with that. So that concludes my report. There's just a lot going on. And the good news is I think ridership will continue to trend upward. And so we're really just honing in on that as well as these capital projects.
That is a lot going on and lots of money to hopefully bring to the Tri-Valley for the expansion of not only zero emission buses, but also the Atlantis system. Question for you, Michael, or anyone on your staff. We hear a lot about mask wearing. We know we don't have to wear masks inside restaurants and shops now. What about transit?
Tony, do you have the latest dates? I know there's a date coming up for students and then a date coming up for public transit in general. Huh? Students in the classroom, I guess I should say.
I believe most of the school districts have said by the end of this week, it's going to be optional to wear a mask. It's not going to be optional on the bus, at least through March 18th. That's when the current federal order expires. And unless they extend it, it would expire on Friday, March 18th. And in the past, you know, just for reference, they've typically, when they've extended it quite a number of weeks in advance. And so we're like 10 days away from the expiration and they haven't said anything. So I would be of the assumption it's going to expire.
Okay. And I think Board Member Josie probably knows this for sure, but I thought in my mayor's report, it was March 12th. The state is going to ease mask wearing for schools. Is that middle school and high school, which are really our riders? Do you have any comment on that, Jean?
Yeah, it's midnight on the 11th. So the 12th is the first day they could take their masks off. So it goes through Friday of this week that they must keep their masks on in school. After that is strongly recommended is what the wording is. And Alameda County is going along with the state's guidance. And then individual school districts are allowed to continue to impose mask mandates. I can't speak for Livermore and Pleasanton, but I know Dublin has already put out the word that they will comply with the county guidelines, which says masks are strongly recommended, though no longer required after Friday of this week in schools. Do we have a sense, while I have my mic open, do we have a sense of what that might do for ridership? I know that we don't have any data about it, but do we have a gut feeling that there may be more people that are willing to get on the bus because they don't have to wear their mask, or conversely, people that might stay away from the bus now that people don't have to mask anymore?
Wow. I don't have the answer to that. Just when you think you knew everything about COVID, right? The one thing we are planning for, though, is the fact that if students don't have to have masks on next week, a lot of them won't bring them with them. And so we are already planning, our drivers already carry around a supply typically of 10 masks per bus. We are going to increase that supply on the school trippers so that we have plenty of masks available for the students who want to board without a mask.
Okay, and hopefully it's just a week there or so.
Yes, that's what we hope. We've got plenty of masks, though.
There will be a secondary market for mask sales, I'm hoping, as we get through this. Board Member Kick, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, do we, I know that the ridership is going away. I know some industries, employees are still wearing masks. Do we have any any details about our employees needing to, and those that want to continue to mask, are we ensuring that we're still providing them N95s if they would like to keep masking?
We, on the LAVTA side, all of our employees are vaccinated and boosted. And so we're not requiring masks, but some of our employees choose to continue to wear masks, and that is their option. And our drivers are covered by the federal law, and so they are required to wear masks while they're driving the bus, whether or not there's anybody on the bus.
Okay, that's what I knew there were some other rules. So thank you for clarifying that. And we do still provide them masks, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
We have N95s, KN95s, and 3-ply. It's your choice. We have a variety of colors available. If you'd like black, blue, or white, we have all of those available as well.
I just want to do a follow-up it was a great question for Brittany. The bus drivers should be under the federal law, you said, the Department of Transportation. So that's that 3/18 date, potentially.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. And then the drivers could, of course, continue to wear masks should they prefer to do that.
Now, on the MV side of our facility, because not all of their employees are vaccinated, MV has taken the position that their employees are still required to wear masks while they're in the office.
Okay. We'll see what they decide. Okay, Board Member Hernandez, you have a question or comment?
Sorry, I'm having to communicate through my phone. There's something wrong with my laptop, but yeah, so everybody's still required to wear masks, by the way, in public transit.
Yes, that's a TSA requirement. The same requirement that covers airplanes covers us.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because I know there's a lot of confusion whether they should or shouldn't, and we wanted to offer that we also have masks too. But it sounds like you have it covered, Tony.
We have several.
We have lots of masks, so just in case you needed extras.
That's right, exactly. So you never know, but there's optimism that the Omicron is hopefully the last one to come down the pike. At least that was on the news last night. Yes, Board Member Bonanno.
Yeah, a couple quick things about ridership and drivers and just the sort of the whole situation in some respects. So first question is, Michael or anyone, have you looked to see what other agencies, what their ridership increases are? Are we sort of doing comparable increases month to month as other agencies that would be, considered peers or comps? Just curious about whether we feel like this is a consistent trend. And then I have a follow-up to that.
Tony, you may have a different perspective from a planning angle, but I think what I'm seeing is that we're basically right in line with what other bus operators in the region are experiencing. And I know that rail is lagging behind that. I think BART, might be at around 30%, 35% as they're, kind of waiting on that commuter volume to come back. But Tony, you seeing anything different?
No, that's exactly what I've heard from other places, is that the longer distance commuter routes are not coming back as quickly in other cities, but the routes that serve either transit dependent neighborhoods or typical transit riders, those routes are coming back, and the 50% range is I would say about average. We are fortunate that we have a very large percentage of our current ridership is student-based, and so out of our 3,500 or so a day that we're carrying, about 1,500 of those are going to Pleasanton or Dublin schools. Las Positas is ramping up the number of students that are on campus, and our ridership to Las Positas is starting to grow. We have good ridership to the Livermore schools, and they all take advantage of regular fixed route service on the Route 30, the Route 15, and those routes are doing quite well as well with the student population.
So thank you for that. So really where I'm trying to go with this, I think, is it's difficult to plan unless you've sort of got a planning point sometime out, and it's very difficult to have a planning point. But I'm just wondering, are you thinking about, based on the trends you're seeing, are you planning to some ridership, say 6 months from now, a year from now? And the reason I'm asking that is I'm trying to get a better idea of the integrated picture. We've cut routes because we had driver shortage and we had ridership decreases. We're seeing ridership going up. Sounds like we're doing okay on drivers. When might we bring those routes back that had to be cut? I'm trying to get a little bit better picture of the integrated picture for these things that all have, variables associated with them. And that's why I'm asking about ridership and the trends other agencies might be seeing, as well as what you might be planning for. So I know that's a sort of a hard question to answer on the fly, but maybe we could talk about this at our next meeting. I mean, if you have any comments now, but I'm just trying to understand how you're dealing with this on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis, and how are you seeing either bringing those routes back, or should we not expect those routes to come back? And are we getting feedback from the public that those routes are being missed, or is no one even noticed those routes are gone? I just don't know the answer. I'm just looking for a little more insight into how we're moving forward and how you're trying to integrate all these things that are hard to keep track of and project.
I can probably give you the short-term answer, and the short-term answer is the issue is number of bus drivers right now. We don't have currently enough drivers to expand service whatsoever. Now, in the summer, we won't be running the school trippers, so we'll have some extra drivers. But if we ramped up service on other routes during the summer, then when school starts up in the fall, we won't have enough drivers for the school trippers. And so you're kind of in an odd situation there for a 2-month. You couldn't ramp up for 2 months and then ramp back down. We've already done that once, and it wasn't pleasant. And so I think our operations team has been looking at a number of things, and I think Michael alluded to it earlier, that you're going to hear some information next month about some ideas that might help us in the recruiting component to speed up the hiring of drivers. We're bringing on something in the neighborhood of 4 drivers a month, but we lose 4 drivers a month. So you never are going to get ahead, and you're never going to get to the point of where we were pre-COVID, just treading water. And so issue number 1 is hiring bus drivers.
But it sounds like if ridership doesn't come back, it's hard to justify more drivers. I'm just trying to understand a little bit more of a strategic picture for how you're thinking about these things. And I realize you don't have all the answers, and nobody has all the answers, but are you doing any kind of scenario planning? Like, if ridership comes back to 5,000 riders, you'll be able to, and you get this many more drivers, maybe you can bring those routes back. Maybe it's never a good idea to bring those routes back. I have no idea. And that's sort of my point. And I'm sure, I guess I think maybe an agenda item at a future meeting where we look not just, we're down this many drivers, we hired this many drivers. A little bit more integrated picture is what I
think you'll see that next month. And I also think that, one of the key drivers that we're seeing is that there are a number of employers, especially in Silicon Valley, who are saying that, remote work may be a permanent thing for their employees, or 3 days a week might be the max that we're bringing people back. And if that's the case, then congestion on the freeways could be reduced by 40%. And until you get to the point of BART's parking lot being full again, that was one of the key drivers of our ridership pre-COVID, was the fact that you had to get to the BART station by 7 a.m. in order to get a parking place. Now you can go there anytime you want and just have your pick of any of 1,000 spaces. So until that commuter ridership picks back up, I don't know that there's going to be a huge demand for our primary core service of the Rapids.
Okay, so yeah, I think all these are this is all very interesting and good points. I think that it sort of proves my point, though, that we don't know, but there's got to be an agency has got to be able to make some projections or do some scenario planning. And I think that I remember that Director Halbert and Michael might have attended a meeting or a forum of some type a couple months ago on the future of public transit. I remember hearing something about that. And I mean, I just think this is part of what our job is, just to think through the strategic view as well. But I think I've made my point and appreciate all the info. Thank you.
All right, we are lucky to have student ridership. Let's say that. If 50% of our ridership is student ridership, that is significant. And of course, BART doesn't have that as their ridership component. So I think we're pretty fortunate on that. But good points, very good points made. We'll look forward to those topics coming back in the future. Is there any other matters initiated by our directors, board members? Anybody want to have future items to talk about? Okay, all right. With that, our next meeting is scheduled for April 4th, and I look forward to seeing everyone next month. All right, thank you.